My father's first words on entering Westminster Abbey yesterday were a pledge of service. It was a pledge to continue to serve, because for over 50 years, in every corner of the UK, across the Commonwealth and around the world.
There is a story about Prince William that few people know. It is not the polished images from royal events or the narratives from reporters, but the real story that happens behind closed doors. It involves a boy in grief, a girl who lost her family, and 20 years of silence between them that speaks volumes. Prince William lives under constant public scrutiny. His grief, marriage, and fatherhood are all dissected by the media while he carries the unseen weight of being a prince. Yet, one part of his life remains hidden, not just from the press in the palace, but even from himself. Laura Lopes, the daughter of Queen Camilla, does not have a royal title. She often remains in the background of this famous family. Few people know her name, but she has been present at important events in William's life. For over 20 years, she was like a sister he unknowingly kept locked away behind a metaphorical door. This is the story of what happened when he finally opened that door. The girl who grew up in the shadow of someone else's scandal before becoming William's stepsister and the Queen's daughter, Laura Rose Parker B.S. was just a child growing up on a country estate in Wiltshire, England. She was born on New Year's Day in 1978, the second child of Camilla Parker B.S. and her husband, retired British Army officer Andrew Parker B.S. Laura had an older brother named Tom. They lived in a beautiful home called Bede Manor, which had 8 bedrooms, 70 acres, and a swimming pool. It was a peaceful place far from the city's distractions that would later affect her mother's reputation. On the surface, it seemed perfect, but underneath it was not. As a young girl, Laura sensed that something was wrong. She overheard hushed phone calls and whispered conversations. Adults often mentioned a name quietly when they thought she wasn't listening. Laura was just a child, but children notice everything, especially what they are not told. The name she kept hearing was Charles. Before she understood what an affair meant or what it meant for two families to clash, she realized that this name made her mother's voice soften and her father's jaw tighten. By the time Laura became a teenager, her mother's relationship with the Prince of Wales was no longer a secret. It was all over the news and became a topic of public discussion. People viewed Camilla as the villain in a famous love story. Diana was seen as the heartbroken heroine. Laura, by default, became a background figure, the daughter of the other woman. Laura was 16 when her parents divorced in 1995. She was 17 when Diana told the BBC that her marriage involved 3 people, which complicated things. She was 19 when Diana died in a tunnel in Paris. And people looked at her mother and asked if she was happy now. No one asked Laura how she felt about any of this. No one ever did. In the midst of this royal tragedy, people ignored Laura, the daughter at its center. She learned an important lesson early on. Silence can protect you. Privacy can give you strength. Often the quietest person is the one carrying the most weight. She bore this burden alone and she handled it well. To understand why William kept Laura at a distance for so long, we need to look back to a pivotal day. September 6, 1997, at Westminster Abbey. 2 boys in dark suits walked behind their mother's coffin in front of a billion watching eyes. William was 15 and Harry was 12. That heartbreaking walk changed everything for William. Over time, William built a wall around himself that appeared to be strength and composure. But those who knew him well recognized it was a way to protect himself. Each time he remembered Diana, every time the press used her name, and every time he sat with Camilla, the woman linked to his mother's pain, he added another brick to that wall. Camilla's name hurt William deeply. He remained polite in public because he was training to be king. But his friends noticed he never fully accepted her presence. The 2023 report revealed he still struggled with her being part of the family even after many years. He wasn't hateful or cruel. He was just guarded. Laura, Camilla's daughter, became part of this complicated situation. She was kind and innocent, but she reminded William of everything he tried to avoid. Every family event that included Laura showed him that his father had moved on and that his childhood family was gone. The woman who had once caused his mother pain was now his stepmother and her daughter was his stepsister. No amount of grief or distance could change that reality. As a result, William kept Laura at a distance without meaning to. He went to her wedding in 2006. He had his daughter Eliza as a bridesmaid at his own wedding in 2011. He was polite and appropriate, but emotionally closed off. There was no warmth or true family connection. He gave her the bare minimum, but held back his feelings. For 20 years, this distance was enough until it wasn't. The fights nobody saw. When two grieving children found each other in the worst possible way. Before the cold distance, the polite tolerance, and Laura's daughter walking down the aisle of Westminster Abbey with flowers, there was something more honest and raw. There were real fights, the kind that leaves marks. Royal biographer Katie Nicholl wrote about these struggles in her 2010 book, William and Harry Behind the Palace Walls. She described not the usual polite tension of royal families, but arguments fueled by real pain. Two young people, each defending a parent they loved, believed the other had caused pain that should never have happened. William, still dealing with the loss of Diana and burdened by the grief of a child who blames himself for not saving his mother, would sometimes direct that grief at Camilla at her presence in a family that Diana's absence had shaped. Laura Lopes, having watched her own mother face public criticism and having a childhood affected by the same events, wasn't going to stay quiet. She fired back. According to Nicholl, there were times when Lara looked at the future King of England and told him straight out, "Your father has ruined my life." These 4 words held every piece of a broken childhood. They were both an accusation and a confession. They echoed what William had been saying about Camilla all along. They had more in common than either realized. One painful detail from those years stands out. As a child, when Charles called Camilla at home, Laura sometimes picked up another phone and screamed at him to stop calling her mother. A little girl shouting down the phone at the Prince of Wales to leave her family alone. This was the same family he would later bring into his own life. The same family Laura would end up sharing in royal events, photographs, and Christmas gatherings. She was trying to protect what she had. William was trying to protect what he had lost. Amid their grief and protection, a relationship that could have been comforting turned into a conflict. The tragedy is not that they fought. The tragedy is that they fought about the same thing. Both were children trying to hold together something that was already broken. Both deserve better. Neither knew how to express that the woman she became while he wasn't watching. While William gained global attention, Laura chose to live a life out of the public eye. Her story is important and deserves to be told. Laura graduated from Oxford Brookes University with a degree in art history, a subject that Princess Kate later studied. She built her career without relying on her family name and focused on her talent. Laura interned at the famous Peggy Guggenheim Collection in Venice and managed the Space Gallery in Belgravia, London. In October 2005, the same month her mother married the king, she co-founded 11 Fine Art, a contemporary gallery in Belgravia. She ran it for 10 years without using her royal connections for promotion. Later she started Laura Lopes Art, her own curatorial practice that focused on figurative works by British artists. In 2025 she took part in the British Art Fair, recognized as a respected figure in London's art scene. Laura married Harry Lopes in May 2006 at a 16th-century church in Wiltshire. The wedding, attended by William, Harry, Charles, Camilla, and 250 guests, felt more genuine than many royal events. She wore a gown by Anna Valentine, the same designer her mother chose for her wedding to Charles the year before, creating a meaningful connection between them. Laura has 3 children, Eliza, born in 2008, and twins Gus and Lewis, born in 2009. She raised her children away from the spotlight, determined to protect their childhoods. When Gus broke his arm right before the 2023 coronation, where he and his brother served as pages of honor to the king, he stood at the altar in pain, wearing a cast, yet handled it with grace. He fulfilled his duty just as his mother had throughout her life. Laura Lopes represents something rare in the royal family. Someone who values decency over fame, privacy over attention, and authenticity over performance. While others use their royal connections for personal gain, she chose to live honestly. In doing so, she showed a type of royal behavior often overlooked, more true to the word royal than many who frequently appear in the media. The Christmas that cracked the ice, Christmas 2024 at Sandringham House, was a big celebration with about 45 guests, making it the largest royal Christmas gathering in recent years. William, who noted it with a sense of tired affection, felt that his Norfolk Christmases would never be quiet again. King Charles III faced his cancer diagnosis with the strength he is known for, while Kate, having recently completed her own cancer treatment, impressed the nation with her grace. The Wales children, George, Charlotte, and Louis, played in the grounds of one of Britain's historic estates, unaware of the history around them. Laura Lopes attended again this year for the second time in a row. She was not just on the edge of the guest list or tagging along as a guest of someone else. She was fully included, walking toward the church on a frosty Norfolk morning, present in a way that she had not been allowed to be for most of the last 20 years. According to royal insiders, the atmosphere at Sandringham that Christmas was complex due to deep family history. It wasn't hostile or openly tense, but it felt charged with unspoken feelings in the weight of a family gathering where some people pretended that 20 years of history had not unfolded. Observers noted that Laura carried herself with her usual calmness. She didn't seek out William or show warmth that she didn't feel. She was present as she always had been, watching and absorbing without revealing anything. Laura and Tom arrived privately at the church service, avoiding the public walk they normally do with the rest of the family. Even at Sandringham in the heart of the royal world, she managed to stand just outside the spotlight. But things had changed. William noticed this as he saw Laura move comfortably through his family home, welcomed by his father. This stirred feelings in him that he had tried to keep hidden for years. It wasn't anger or resentment, but something quieter and more unsettling, recognition. He slowly realized that the distance he kept from Laura Lopes was not really about her. It was about something deeper he had yet to confront. Christmas 2024 didn't solve anything. It wasn't a moment of reconciliation or understanding. However, it was the first crack in a wall that had stood for a long time. Sometimes in the landscape of a person's heart, a single crack can lead to significant change. At the heart of everything for Prince William is his mother, Diana. This affects why he keeps Laura at a distance, why Camilla's name matters in discussions he has, and why Christmas at Sandringham House feels more like a negotiation than a celebration. Some people think grief fades over time, becoming manageable. For William, this is not the case. His grief for Diana hasn't faded. It has changed over the years and shows up in unexpected ways. But it remains with him always. Diana was not just William's mother. She was the person who showed him love without any conditions. In a childhood filled with rules, duty, and expectations, she was the one person who loved him. Not as a prince or heir, but as a boy, the unique individual that the royal family often overlooked. When Diana died, William lost her. He also lost the feeling of being loved unconditionally without trust issues or hidden motives. In the years that followed, he fiercely protected the memory of that feeling, which sometimes came off as coldness. It was not coldness. It was his way of preserving that precious memory. Although he couldn't save her, he could remember what she meant to him. And he would hold on to that against anything, against time, against changing stories, against efforts to change how people viewed his mother. Laura Lopes had never hurt William. He knew this, and she did, too. Yet, her presence reminded him of the loss of his mother, not because she was responsible or because she had choices linked to Camilla, but because grief can attach itself unfairly to people. Those who carry grief often find themselves waiting without answers. After that Christmas gathering, William began to realize a common question that comes with long-held grief. How long will you let the past control your present? He had kept Laura at bay to protect Diana's memory. But Diana, the real woman he knew who engaged with people and believed in the power of connection, would not have wanted that. She would have encouraged him to do the opposite. It's easy to think that everything changed all at once, but that's not how people or the British royal family operate. There wasn't one big conversation or moment that changed everything. Change happens slowly in small steps and often only becomes clear when we look back. For instance, Laura's daughter, Eliza, walked down the aisle of Westminster Abbey as a bridesmaid at William's wedding in 2011. This was an important act. It publicly included Laura's family in a huge moment in William's life. It showed that regardless of the past, his child belonged there. Such gestures come from someone who cares. Laura's sons, Gus and Lewis, participated in the 2023 coronation as pages of honor. They appeared on the balcony of Buckingham Palace and were featured in the official photos. This meant they were unmistakably part of a significant royal event. Laura was there, too, recognized and present. Then came Christmas 2024 and Tom Parker BS announced in December 2025 that he and Laura would not attend for 1 year due to an alternating arrangement. This was a typical decision for a blended family juggling various commitments. It was simple and human. This simplicity matters. The fact that Laura and her brother are now mentioned in the royal family's Christmas plans means their presence is seen as normal, not filled with emotional tension. This shows that walls have come down slowly but surely. What William is learning is that honoring his mother's memory doesn't mean shutting others out. Diana did not want to be isolated. She wanted to be remembered for her kindness and connections. Keeping Laura away from his life didn't honor Diana. It only prolonged past hurts. The children at Sandringham, now George, Charlotte, Louis, Eliza, Gus, and Louis Lopes, will grow up without carrying the burdens of their parents' pasts. They will be cousins, playing together and creating memories free from the complexities of their grandparents' histories. This is the legacy that truly matters. Not titles or crowns, but the choice to give the next generation something better. Laura never wanted to be a secret or a symbol. She wanted to be acknowledged for who she is. She consistently attended important events, allowing her kids to be part of royal occasions without seeking personal gain. She wanted to be seen as herself, not just as Camilla's daughter or someone William distanced himself from. William is still learning how to handle his grief without letting it control him. This is a human experience, not a failure. By gradually opening up to Laura and recognizing her as someone deserving of his affection, he has become a little more like the mother he continues to miss. His mother would have recognized this change. She would have been proud. The royals we see on the Christmas walkabout, coordinated, well-groomed, and waving at the cameras, are showing us a performance. But the royals behind closed doors deal with grief, forgiveness, and the heavy burden of a family shaped by scandal and loss. That's where the true story lies. Laura Lopes has lived her whole life in that real story, staying out of the spotlight and carrying her role with a grace that has never asked for recognition. If this gives you a new perspective on the royal family, share it with someone who could benefit from it. Leave a comment below and let me know. Do you think William has really made peace with this part of his past? I read every single one. Until next time.